So I'm coming from Tampere, from these red brick buildings, which used to be in industrial use up till the beginning of the 1990s. There is a mechanical workshop, there is a textile mill, there is a linen mill, and for those of you who don't know where Tampere is, it's 175 kilometers north from Helsinki. And I'm presenting this, my presentation in a sort of like a double role. I've been working as a museum director for the National Postal Museum since the beginning of this year. But previous 7 years I've been working inside this museum center, Vapriikki, which is one of the largest museums in Finland, developing mainly its permanent exhibitions, but of course also taking part of the temporary exhibitions as well. And a good question is there really a line between these two categories of exhibitions, or is it vanishing? And let me start also about the questions: where are the museums coming from? This is the National Postal Museum, which was actually founded already in 1927 at its 1960s outfit with these very traditional glass boxes, of course authentic artifacts, objects, which is always essential to the museums, as Herman did emphasize in the previous session. During the 1990s, still the exhibition, even though it had been evolving huge, it had taken huge steps, also using a lot of technology, also using like kind of a creative design for the exhibition, but still more or less it was books on the wall. A lot of text, a lot of photographs, and this way to tell the story. It was actually not telling the story. It was more or less concentrating on the artifacts. This is the thing that I was challenged when I entered Vapriikki in 2006. It was about 1,000 quarter meters exhibition from prehistorical times up till the modern days about this region of Pirkanmaa, which is surrounding Tampere. And we were really thinking that what should we do with the exhibition? In my presentation, I will tell about this process. I will also tell that what the Vapriikki is doing right now, what the National Postal Museum is doing right now when we are entering this museum center, and a little bit about the background and a little bit about these influences that I have read and I've been influenced by when I began to think about the renewing of the museums, and I'm still thinking about these issues. What's coming really essential now when we are developing this new concept of National Postal Museum in Tampere. This kind of a new museological thinking, of course, it has evolved during the last at least 20 years. And we all know about these concepts of participatory museum and these different kind of museum experience models, which include the personal, personal perspectives. It's always a personal, subjective matter when you are entering the museum. It's also a social phenomenon in a way that you are almost always discussing, whether inside the museum or after the museum visit with somebody about the museum. There is this physical existence both by yourself and also the environment that you are entering, which have to take into account when talking and discussing about the museums. It's quite obvious that especially this audience here knows that it's nowadays the audience want to contribute and participate on the museum exhibitions and have something to do. And it's also essential when you are renewing the museum that you have this connection to the society around you. And really to do this kind of a collaborative projects when you are renewing this kind of a basic permanent exhibitions. Museums are not anymore just collecting objects, they are collecting information. And I think this kind of a new dynamic collection policy, which also includes the possibility to do some disposals out of the collection, has changed also our attitude towards this kind of a permanent exhibitions. It's quite obvious that for this audience, at least, that physical and digital worlds are merging into each other. But I will really like to emphasize also the meaning of the it's quite normal that we are discussing about these issues inside the exhibitions, but we should also take into account the collection databases, the collection management systems, and I was involved last year in the National Enterprise Architecture Group and really got like a good overview about all these kind of repositories, collections, processes inside the museum world, and I think it's a good tool to really do something if you are really going through the major changes in the museum. The photograph is from the Terracotta Army exhibition in Vapriki, which was actually, of course, a huge success. It closed down yesterday, and it had almost over 100 visitors in a city where there are inhabitants only 220,000 inhabitants. Of course, when you are changing the museum exhibitions, you should also think of what the audience is expecting, what they are anticipating from the museum. Finnish Museum Association had made these kind of large audience researches throughout the years, actually 2001 and then the latest one is from 2011. And what is actually crucial, and I think it's also essential when talking about how the museums are changing, that in 2001, the people were stating that the most important thing that they are expecting from the museums is information, the knowledge about these things, and now you see the results from well, quite recent results. I think that this experience and entertainment, they have really gone up, and maybe it could also be that these notions, these concepts have changed in people's mind too, but it's quite obvious that this experience is what the people are expecting more and more at the museums. We were also thinking about for what kind of visitors we are doing this renewal. We knew that they are busy ones, they are selective visitors, and there are also this kind of hardcore museum users who come often to our museum center and are able to see all the exhibitions, which is actually, it's a huge house, so it will take at least 3 hours to go through these exhibitions quite quickly. We were also thinking about what kind of exhibitions we are aiming to. We knew that this old concept of this kind of a holistic model from a large exhibition, it's not working anymore, and we should go towards more thematical exhibitions, and that means that we are going towards the direction that the changing exhibitions, the temporary exhibitions, have already been, and this is the American framework model for evaluating the museums, that museum exhibitions should be comfortable, engaging, reinforcing, and meaningful. But I would say that we were also discussing about maybe some exhibitions could be also a little bit disturbing and shaking to your thoughts and ideas. So these challenges to tell this kind of a new story or new stories out of the city, to create the new identity in a way, to pick up the themes that we should concentrate. We knew that the Finnish Civil War 1918 was a crisis that still had a long shadow in Finns' minds, and it was an occasion that has never been presented in a museum exhibition in a way that it could take this kind of a balanced view from both sides. So the Finns were divided to the whites, the right wing, and the left wing Reds, to keep it quite simple. Of course, it's included also foreign forces and so on. But it's an important topic. So we chose these themes: the Civil War, the innovative city, and the city by the rapids. You saw the rapids in the first photograph. We were also thinking about that there was some criticism towards the museum center concept. There's a very well-known Finnish artist who had stated that these kind of museum centers are like museum porridge. You cannot get anything out of that. It could be a good quality of the exhibitions, but there are no kind of a sharp profile of the exhibitions or the museums inside the museum center. And we knew that something should be done to this thing too. So people are also thinking about Vaprik, even though it's over 10 years old concept, that the latest exhibition is the one that really is labeling the museum. So I mean that nowadays people know that there was a terracotta sausage, but they didn't know anything else. So we decided to use this kind of an marketing sentence: surprisingly versatile museum center. And actually it really is surprisingly versatile. Shoe Museum, Ice Hockey Hall of Fame, Ice Hockey Museum, several temporary exhibitions. Some examples: the Age of the Fabergé, Revolution porcelain from the State Hermitage from St. Petersburg, a toy museum, and so on. And now the process is really moving to another pace. And next year we're going to have the enlargement of the Natural History Museum, the new Mineral Cabinet, my National Postal Museum, and also the Media Museum Rubriki is going to move under the roof of Vaprik. There's going to be more exhibition space. And shortly I will go through this renovation process and ideas behind these three exhibitions. And if I have some time, I could tell you some ideas behind this new postal museum, which is going to be opened next autumn. So I still believe that the objects are really, really important. They are. There is a power in the collections, like Jane Glazer, the president of the Museum Association, has stated in Peter Van Mensch's book, New Trends in Museology. The collections provide evidence and offer opportunities for research and learning. They can give status to the ideas, people and communities, serve as memorials and validate groups or individuals' experiences. And what is actually very, very powerful collection is this collection from the Finnish Civil War, which is actually quite exceptional one. It was already gathered from the streets and war spoil storages during the very spring that the war ended. But all these objects, all these artifacts ended up in a museum storage room for 90 years. So that tells you how problematic issue this war was for the Finns. So we were not able to do any kind of interpretation of the war. And during the 1990s, when the academic history research began this kind of new research on Civil War, we also thought that now it could be the time to do something. But, well, it lasted up till 2008 when we had this possibility to do this exhibition. It's also a story about how difficult it is to touch these kind of topics in a museum exhibition. And it really needs this interaction with the community to discuss with the so-called the gatekeepers from the both sides, or these people who are really taking care of the white or the red heritage. We knew that we should do something very special, shocking exhibition, which should also do something with the reconciliation process, which was still going on, even though after 90 years in Finland. And the most important question that we were posing to the people in the exhibition, that what would you have done in this situation? There are mirrors you are facing in the first phase of the exhibition. There is this street of sorrow that people are actually going through. So it's a very immersive exhibition in a way. I should mention, of course, the architect Taina Väisänen, who did an excellent job of really drawing the ideas that this curatorial group, which consists of museum people and the people from the university, were doing. Also, the objects were placed on these glass boxes, vitrines, on the street as they were actually found. I think this was also a good idea. We were actually showing dead bodies, even though some politicians asked from us that you are not going to do that in a museum exhibition. It was authentic material, and we decided to use a little bit technology. There's a mobile guide available, but mainly it's sort of a hidden technology. There's a quite immersive and quite chaotic soundscape in the exhibition. But if you are working in a museum, that museum center where there are actually 12 exhibitions, you should have some places you can relax, but you can also have this kind of disturbing exhibitions with a chaotic soundscape. So we actually were aiming to create strong emotional feelings in the exhibition. I think that we have really succeeded. We also did a lot of work with the photographs and with the digital archiving of the photographs and creating new information about the Civil War. There's a remembering of the war, and of course the connection to the contemporary crisis is also essential, that you could really understand what this was all about. Quickly, these three exhibitions, the city of Tammerkoski Rapids, which is sort of like a city history at a glance. Quite small space, quite a lot of technology. We were actually yesterday discussing whether the touchscreens are already over the age of the touchscreens, but 2009 they were actually going strong still. Of course, in this touchscreen that it's in the center of the photograph, it's connected to this miniature model of the old Tampere with DMX lighting and so on. And we also produce a three-dimensional model, the animation of Tammerkoski Rapids, which is available on both on the net and in the exhibition. The third exhibition in this package was this innovative city. Vapriikki Museum Center has very good collections of the technological history. There used to be the Museum of Technology in Tampere as well. And actually we decided not to tell one story, but instead of that, a lot of stories, and also when it comes to the exhibition design, we were really using this kind of modular sections of the exhibition. It was done by America Design Office from Helsinki. There are simulators, there are authentic materials, and what I'm especially proud of is these kind of interfaces which combines the digital content and some kind of physical devices. Of course, this is the replica, this bicycle, but this first electric lamp in Nordic countries, it's used by pulling the string with this digital content. We were also taking part of this Inventing Europe project as like a digital enlargement of the innovation story. I don't have any time to concentrate on other museums, but just to mention that this is worthwhile seeing and really comparing what we are doing at the moment, something really different in Mäntä, a little bit further on north from Tampere, a totally immersive theater without any artifacts at all. And of course, this is the thing that we have been discussed when renewing this postal museum, moving from Helsinki to Tampere to a new place, to a new environment, to a new audience. And we still think that we could create this kind of an immersive experiences, but we should of course also have these authentic objects in the exhibition. And we have really thought of really some sketches from the exhibition that divide this exhibition into two. That we have this kind of an experiences, storytelling by the scenography, creating kind of emotions, experiences like the Tampere 1918 exhibition. But still we have this kind of an strong focus on this information storytelling, concentrating on the artifacts, telling about the artifacts and the phenomena with the digital content. And of course, expecting a lot of visitors like there was in the Terracotta exhibition. Just two last slides. I would like to mention that in Vaprik there were some interviews done during this autumn, and people were asked, what is the thing that you were really liked in Vaprik? And I think I was really surprised that text in the exhibition is still in the center. So the experiences, interesting exhibition topics are there. This kind of topics that somehow relate to the space are quite important. People were expecting more places to sit and relax, to drink some water. But you also see that this kind of a traditional way of reading the text is still very important for the museum audience, according to this research. So I would like to thank for your attention and welcome to Tampere.